My name is Jacob, and welcome to another episode of Raw and Uncut on the Abrasive Conversations platform. In my hand, I have a book. Normally, when I have my episode, I'm sitting I have a pen in my hand. There, I have a book. Now, this is quite an interesting book. The name of this book is Namibia in Jonker Afrikaans Time, and it's written by Bridget Lau. But the reason why I have this book is because it is going to tie into a conversation that I would like to have on indigenous knowledge ownership. It's important to understand what indigenous knowledge is. Now, indigenous knowledge is the type of knowledge that are created or were created by various indigenous groups in Southern Africa. Not just in Southern Africa or on the African continent, but the world over. In our context, it's Southern Africa. That's why I'm talking about Southern Africa. So in Southern Africa, there is a range of indigenous groups. One of those groups are the Khoekhoe. There is Tswana people, there is the Cloete people, also people, there is the San. So there's various groups of people, especially indigenous people in Southern Africa. And over centuries, if it's not millennia, I think it's better, over millennia, they've created a knowledge system that govern most of their lives until the event of colonialism. So colonialism at a certain point of Africa started around about the time of Van Riebeeck, 1652. So that's where the story starts. And then it moved all the way to 1910 with the formation of the Union of South Africa, and then we see later South Africa become a republic in 1961, and then later in 1994 we have the first democratic elected government that is based on majority rule. So we are a liberal democracy with some levels of socialist features, but it's the majority of South Africans that vote this government into power. Now, the reason why I explain this is because there is appropriation of indigenous knowledge systems from that period up until the present as we experience today. And the reason why I'm sitting with this book, because this book focuses on Namibia. Namibia is a vast country, previously known as Southwest Africa. At one point it was a German colony, and then it became the protectorate by the UN. South Africa became the custodian, and later became the colonizing figure of Namibia. So the same laws that applied in Namibia is the same laws that you will see in South Africa. So the one thing that Namibia and South Africa have in common is this colonial experience and the apartheid experience. So the people are very much similar, and they have a very similar culture. Not just one group, but most of the groups. But there's an indigenous group of people that form part of a larger Khoekhoe group, and that group is called the Nama people. And you will find that the Nama people before 1652 were in South Africa already. So you had two regions of the Nama people, or what people call Namakwaland or Namakhoiland. So there's different groups calling it different, but this is Nama people, and the land of the Namas stretch from South Africa all the way into the middle of Namibia, or as what we know Namibia today. So in South Africa, there's a region called Namakoland, and there's even municipalities called after this, Namakwa municipality. So the Nama people were in South Africa before 1652, and they were in South Africa up until quite late. There is still a large group of Nama people in the Northern Cape, and many of the descendants is even in the Western Cape and other parts of South Africa and the continent at large. But the cultures of the Nama people and those people stayed the same. So if you go into various cultural practices and customs, then you will see it is similar and people live it like it. It's just hidden. The reason why I can talk about this is because I wrote a book, and that book is called The Identity Ratio of the Khoekhoe and San People. So it's book one in a part of series of books that I'm developing that is systematically unpacking these things that I'm talking. So one of them is on a future book would be on Indigenous knowledge systems. But it's important for me to talk about this because I recently saw, and when I mean recently, I would say in the past 10 years, that the Vellies, this shoe, this particular shoe, the Veldskoen, or Vellies as people know it, became a very popular brand amongst people. And it's amongst people from all races. It's not just amongst white and colored people, you also see it with black people. And interestingly, that you see now the Veldskoen is also an international brand, Vellies. It's leaving South Africa and is going across the continent. What people don't know is that this particular shoe was one of those indigenous knowledge systems that comes from the Khoekhoe people, and especially the Nama people. There was a group amongst the Nama people that they called the Veldskoen draers. So Veldskoen is a shoe made out of skin, cow skin, or what type of skin that you can use, and this means is the wearers. Veldskoen draers means the people who are wearing shoes that are made of animal skin. So if you have to translate it, so that is how you would translate it. So one of the Nama groupings in the time of Jonker Afrikaner were the Veldskoen draers, because they specifically wore a Veldskoen, and an earlier version of what we know today as the Vellies or the Veldskoen. Now the reason why I want to I bring this up on my channel is because I know that there's a lot of people, South Africans, that doesn't know this history. When you think about the Vellies or the Veldskoen, this particular shoe, you think about it as an Afrikaner shoe, and it is worn mostly by farm workers or farmers in particular. It is not firmly and strongly linked to Khoekhoe culture, indigenous knowledge systems. But the truth is that this is one of those indigenous knowledge systems that was with the Khoekhoe, that was later appropriated, and it became a symbol of colonialism of a particular group of people and then the other group of people were completely shut out, and they didn't have any ownership or any right to that specific brand, the Vellies or the Veldskoen. So if you trace the history of the Veldskoen, then people would say the first Veldskoen started in Wuppertal, the commercial one, and then it was exported. So the symbolism is similar than we would find with Afrikaans. Afrikaans this year is celebrating 100 years, Afrikaans 100, but Afrikaans have a much longer history than just 100 years. It's an extremely old language that started with the Khoekhoe, San, the slaves and other indigenous groups because they couldn't speak Dutch properly. So from it, they make a language. Now, if you look at the words of Afrikaans, then you'd see other languages, indigenous languages, is within that specific language, Afrikaans. Lap, for example, is one of those. Oma, Opa, you will find this Khoekhoe words, a bastard version of it, that is now in the Afrikaans language. Now, the final point that I want to make on this is that I don't care so much about how people use indigenous knowledge systems. I don't care about who makes money of it, of this particular one. What I do care about is the ownership of indigenous knowledge systems and the recognition thereof. And ownership is when a group of people say, this is ours, it was ours, we take it, and we make something of it. We make a Vellie, a Veldskoen. And this is what I'm really looking forward to, is to buy a Vellie or Veldskoen from a Khoekhoe person or Khoekhoe grouping. Because the day I would wear that, and that is the international brand, then that day would be extremely liberating day for me. It will not be Trump's liberation, but it will be a liberating day for me, because then I know we have taken something of ourselves and made something powerful from it. And it's not just amongst the Khoekhoe people. I want every other indigenous group to go into the indigenous knowledge systems and see some of those things that they commercialize, that you can commercialize, take ownership, and then put some money behind it and make something from it. Something that a group of people can have proud of, they can feel liberated and liberating about, and something that they can share with the rest of the world. Ladies and gentlemen, finally, before I go, read some of these old books and read my book, but more importantly, don't be ashamed of your culture and where you come from. It's always something good if you can share it and it's not oppressive to another group of people. What do you think? Please join the conversation. Should we commercialize more indigenous knowledge systems, and should those groupings whose indigenous knowledge systems it is take ownership of those indigenous knowledge systems and share it with the rest of the world? What do you think? Thank you for watching, and I will see you in another episode.